Your sun sign versus your rising sign. This is a question I get all the time, and we're going to talk about what the difference is. And I also get the question if one is more important than the other. One is not more important than the other. I don't know, that's so subjective. They are so different and represent such different parts of your chart that it doesn't make sense for me to answer that. So let's talk about your sun sign first. So your sun sign is a part of you. Each part of your chart, each planet in your chart represents a different part of you. Your sun is like the soul, core, life force energy part of you, the part of you that is an infinite creator. It is almost the God part of you. If you think about the God part of us, the God part of us is the part of us that knows we are infinite. It knows that we are abundant. It knows that we can have anything that we want, that we actually came into this world with abundance. And that is because we have life force energy. Our sun sign is very similar to how the sun bears down on the plants and the trees and animals and everything, and it gives it life. We can't grow food without the sun. We can't grow internally and have optimal health and vitality and success without the sun. And so just like in Greek and Roman mythology, how there are different types of gods, they all have infinite power. They all are infinite creators, but there's different personalities and different energies that fuel these gods. Like we have Mercury, the messenger god. We have Hades, he was the god of the underworld. We had Venus, she is the goddess of beauty and love. And so if we think about it this way, your sun sign is in a zodiac sign, and each zodiac sign is like the flavor, the personality of the type of god you are and what you have infinite energy to create with. So if you're a Taurus sun, then what gives you infinite energy to create with, the fuel for that sun sign, the fuel for that God energy is Taurus themes. So it would be being in nature, presence, sensuality, slowness, quality food, quality items, quality material goods. It would be being resourceful. It would be managing your money. It'd be managing your material resources. It would be working on your self-worth. All of these different things would give a Taurus sun life force energy. The thing about your sun is the more you fuel your sun, the more success that you have, the more authority you have in this world. The sun represents our leadership and how we go about leading in the world, because we typically lead and find success in the thing that is our God power, the thing that is our God energy, the things that light us up, that give us life force. If things don't give us life force, how are you supposed to lead? If things don't give us life force, how are you supposed to create? Your sun sign tells you where you gain life force so you can lead, so you can find success, so you can create, so you can have energy, so you can be alive. A plant would not grow without the sun. You do not grow without embodying the energy of your sun sign. And here's the interesting thing about the sun sign is a lot of people don't feel like their sun sign right away. And that's my issue with pop astrology and sun sign astrology and everyone being like, the sun, I know my sun sign, but I don't resonate with it. Listen, I didn't resonate with my sun sign for a long time. And those times when I did not act like my sun sign, I had a lot less energy. Once I started learning about my sun sign and embodying my sun sign, my energy is through the roof. It's insane. So people typically resonate more with their sun sign over the course of their life because we forget who we are when we come in. We forget what God we are. We forget who our soul is. If anyone's heard this in spirituality, that when you're born, you forget everything. And we spend the rest of our life just trying to remember. We spend the rest of our life remembering our sun sign. And so when I get to talk about the rising sign, because it's very different than the sun sign, the rising sign is actually how you learn to be. It's not what gives you life force energy per se. It's how you learn to be. It is deep, deep programming. It's how you learn to survive in the world. And it does something special to the chart, which we'll talk about in a second. Your sun sign actually will typically resonate more and more with you over your life. And I've also found that certain people hate their birthday if they have a lot of negative and harsh aspects to their sun sign. And I've noticed people love their birthday when they have more positive aspects to their sun sign. Why? Because on your birth date is when your sun typically returned to where it originally was when you were born. And if you have a bunch of negative aspects to it, you're probably not going to love your birthday because it's going to be more challenging. Although you might end up loving your birthday over the course of your life as you work through those challenges. And that was the case for me. I have the worst aspect you can have in astrology to my sun sign between Saturn and Pluto, two bad boy planets, two malefic planets that are not super fun to have harsh aspects to your sun with. I hated my birthday most of my life, hated it. And it wasn't until I worked with a lot of those aspects connecting to my sun sign and overcame a lot of those challenges, like deep anxiety, massive inner critic, all these different things that made me hate my birthday. Now I love my birthday. Now I own my birthday. Now I want to be seen in my birthday. So because the sun rules Leo, the sun is how you're meant to be seen in this world. It is how you want to be seen. It is the energy that makes you feel the most safe and where you shine brightest to be seen. So that's partially why it leads to your success in this lifetime. Now, your sun can also represent your father in astrology. If I want to learn about someone's father, then I will look to their sun sign. Sometimes I'll look to Saturn, but Saturn's more authority figures and grandparents. And if it's a strict father, it could represent a strict father, but typically I look at the sun. The sun is a masculine energy. It is yang energy. It is creator energy. It's literally go out and conquer and create and use your God power to create abundance. If you are fully in alignment with your sun, you could create abundance. If you fully aligned with the highest vibration of your chart, you could literally just be like a godlike person like Jesus, manifesting things left and right because you're in alignment with that life force energy and it's rolling out of you just like the sun creates in this infinitely abundant way because it is yang energy. It is masculine energy. Now, the sun can also represent your ego. For good or for bad, it is where we feel egoically tied to. It is what makes us feel like an authority. And so the more you embody your sun sign, the more you are fueling the protective part of your ego. But in the highest vibration of your sun sign, you will be in the highest elevation of the ego. Now, a lot of people think that the ego is all bad. We have an ego for a reason. An ego is not all bad. An ego is here to protect you. If we did not have an ego, we'd be walking off buildings and dying every day. So we need the ego. A healthy sun sign has a very healthy ego. An unhealthy sun sign is going to have an unhealthy ego. Sometimes when I see a sun sign with Neptune, for example, Neptune is the planet of confusion and delusion and projection, and someone has an unhealthy sun, I have seen people have narcissistic fathers with that kind of combination when they have Neptune with the sun. I've also seen people who can be a little bit narcissistic, Neptune with the sun, but I've also seen people who can be very self-sacrificing. Like the way the ego protects them is to just give everything away and self-sacrifice. And then, like I said, I've also seen more narcissistic tendencies with that as well. But a healthy sun is humble and leads and just shines and doesn't need to be in competition with anyone. It doesn't need to compare to anyone. It literally is in competition with itself. And that is why Aries, actually, the zodiac sign of Aries, is the most exalted sun sign you can have, because Aries is about competition. It is selflessly selfish in the highest vibration. And when you have that sign in your sun, which is about the ego, then you can use that ego to a very healthy advantage, to be selflessly selfish, to be competitive with yourself, because Aries is about the self and gaining your life force energy through being competitive with the self. Doesn't mean you can't have low vibe Aries. You can definitely have low vibe Aries. We're just saying it's a really great sun sign to have because the sun loves being in Aries, but the sun does not rule Aries. The sun rules Leo. So it's at home in Leo, loves being in Aries. The sun does not love to be in Libra because it's the opposite sign of Aries, and Libra is about other people. It's you using your life force energy on other people. It makes it a little bit more complicated. And the sun also doesn't love to be in Aquarius because the sun is warm and joyous and playful. And what gives you life force energy? Joy. Things that you love, your hobbies. And so the more you embody your sun sign, the more you connect with joy and your hobbies and play and all those fun things and warmth. And Aquarius is cold. It's ruled by Saturn. It is ruled by that authoritarian grandparent energy. Fuck the ego. I'm just here for humanity. I don't need validation. I'm just here for humanity. The sun likes validation. Let's be real. The sun is ruled by Leo. The sun loves validation. You want to be validated for what your sun does. You don't need to be validated when you have a healthy sun, but you want to be validated. And that is healthy for that sun. It's healthy to do self-validation with your sun sign. So if you're lacking energy, if you're having a hard time finding success, if you don't feel connected to yourself, if you don't feel a lot of joy in your life, it can be super helpful to start working with your sun sign and dive deep into your sun sign. And it goes so much deeper, guys, than just your sun sign, because then based on what your sun sign is, maybe you were born in February and you're an Aquarius, or maybe you were born in November and you're a Scorpio. That's your sun sign. It's the month you were born, the day you were born. It's the sign that most people know. The more you allow yourself to embody that energy, the more you will open up joy, success, abundance, life force energy to create with into your life. We are here to live a surrendered life. We are not here to control everything in life. The highest vibration of the sun is not in control. It is playing. It is embodying a fun energy. It's living its best life in the sign that it's in. If your sun sign is in Scorpio, you're probably a person who wants to investigate and go deep. And maybe you like to watch conspiracy theories, and maybe you like Nancy Drew. You like to get to the bottom of things. Maybe you love astrology and occult and plant medicine and all those different things. And those things give you energy. It's because you're a Scorpio sun. If you're like me, like I refuse to acknowledge the fact that I was a Taurus. I wanted to act more like a Scorpio a lot of my life. I was just going crazy, balls to the wall, not being present at all, the biggest overthinker you've ever met in your life. And I didn't realize why I was depressed. When we're not embodying our sun, we get depressed. I was depressed because I wasn't using any of my life force energy. I was bypassing it all. I was hoeing out my life force energy. When we're not connected to our sun, it takes a lot more work to be successful. Our sun provides the gas for that work less, receive more mentality. Okay, let's talk about your rising sign, because your rising sign is very different than your sun sign. So your rising sign is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon when you were born. It is not a planet in your chart, but it is a part of you. So we just talked about the planet, the sun. There's a bunch of other planets I'll be recording videos on. Every single planet, and we'll include your rising sign in this, is a placement in your chart, and it represents a different part of you. And the rising sign is the part of you that you learn to express out into the world. And often people learn to be their rising sign as young children. Now, their rising sign doesn't have to be the same as their sun sign. It's how you learn to survive. I'm a Libra rising, for example, and some of my deepest memories from when I was younger, Libra is about other people. It's considering other people. It's being diplomatic. It's keeping the peace. It's being sociable. It's knowing how to be liked. My mom and dad, a lot of my programming growing up was how to be liked. If I remember specific conversations I had with my mom, she would tell me, this is how you have to act here. This is what you have to do. I would also observe certain things my parents would do that I did not want to do in certain social situations. So I was constantly observing how to be social, how to be liked, because that was my method of survival in this world. Your rising sign, whatever it is how you learn to survive in this world. So if your rising sign was Capricorn, for example, the way you learn to survive was to be responsible. You learn to always be looking out for everyone and feel responsible for everyone. That's why a lot of people say Capricorn risings age backwards, because typically over the course of our life, we act less and less like our rising sign because it's not truly who we are. Especially if our rising sign is different than our sun sign, it's not technically going to give us that life force energy. we are looking for, but it does set up everything else in our chart. And so it's like the controller of our chart, basically. It rules our chart, your rising sign. It's not to be confused with your sun, which gives you life force energy and infinite creator God energy. Your rising sign then tells your chart the type of energy in which you handle money with and your self-worth. Your rising sign tells you how you communicate and think and network and connect with different people. It tells you about your parents and the energy of your upbringing and your ancestry. Your rising sign leads to how you spend your day to day and how you go about your health. Your rising sign influences the type of people you attract into your life. Typically, whatever your rising sign is, the personality that you deeply learn to be in this world as a kid to survive, the people you typically attract into your life and like to have in your life are the exact opposite energy of your rising sign. Why? Because those people balance us. So when you find people in relationship, they're similar, right? But they also say opposites attract because there's always that key that matches. So I'm a Libra rising, but Aries is the opposite sign. My boyfriend's an Aries, my best friend's an Aries. I have so many Aries in my life. I love Aries. And it is because I like how direct they are. And typically, even if your rising sign is one way and you act that way out in the world, and it's how people first come to meet you and see you, it's not truly who you are. It's like the mask. You know how we all act a little differently when we first meet people. We act nicer or maybe more protective, or we have a certain way that we show up. When you show up in relationship, your rising sign basically determines that you show up almost in the exact opposite energy in your one-to-one relationships, like when you're close with people or the people that you attract in show up in that energy. And it's just to balance you. It's because everything in the chart is wanting to find balance between 2 points. And the rising sign, what it does is there's a house system in your birth chart. So if anyone's ever seen a life wheel, I'll put a life wheel up here. So in a life wheel, it's a circle that has all these different areas of your life that you can go through. And life coaches use these to have you rate on a scale of 1 to 10, how much you feel good in that area of your life. Well, a birth chart is set up very similarly. Your rising sign sets up the first pie slice of your chart, and that represents your identity and you. But then there's 12 signs on the zodiac wheel. So after your rising sign, like if you're an Aries rising, for example, the next sign after Aries is Taurus. And then the next sign after Taurus is Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, and so on. Okay. So this is what I mean by your rising sign sets up your whole chart. I'm going to put a chart up here while I explain this. So you'll see your rising sign is where that number 1 is. Then you have 12 slices in that chart. As we go around the chart, the next zodiac sign after your rising sign, so if you're a Scorpio rising, the next zodiac sign would be Sagittarius. So then Sagittarius would rule the second pie slice. Your second pie slice represents your self-worth, how you make money, your relationship to money, your income, material possessions in your life, your values. And so that zodiac sign, if you are a Scorpio rising, Sagittarius comes after Scorpio in the zodiacal wheel. So Sagittarius rules your values. It rules your money. It rules your self-worth. And so you'll act more Sagittarian with your money. Sagittarius is very optimistic. Sagittarius wants to make meaning out of things. It wants to experience different belief systems and make its own meaning out of life. So maybe you come up with your own way of managing money. Maybe you're very optimistic about money if you're a Scorpio rising, because Scorpio ruled your first house of identity, but because after Scorpio is Sagittarius, it rules your second house of money. And then after Sagittarius, we have Capricorn. So Capricorn would rule your third house of how you think. So if you see this, your identity, aka your rising sign, affects the personality, the energy in which you show up in every other area of your life. And so it creates this whole person. When you have an identity, a personality, and your rising sign is your deepest identity, your deepest personality, it doesn't give you life force energy to create with unless your sun sign is the same as your rising sign. And when that happens, then you learn to survive in the world the same as what your sun sign is. And that's actually a very good placement. It's really good to have the same sun and rising sign just because how you learn to be is what's going to give you life force energy. How you learn to protect yourself is the same path your sun wants to go on to have success and vitality and live its purpose out in the world. So your rising sign is less deep, and you actually can transcend a lot of the lower vibration energy of your rising sign throughout your lifetime as you work with your chart and different transits.
So that is your rising sign. To recap the whole video, your sun sign is your God power, your creative life force energy. And your rising sign is your identity. It is your self-concept, and it influences how you show up in every other area of your life. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up. I'd love to know if you made it to the end of the video. Drop a little heart telling you what you loved most, or just say hi. And if you want to get more videos like these, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you all on the next video.